The theme of kindness and hidden fortune has existed in various forms across cultures, literature, and real life, but it always retains the same essence. True goodness does not seek recognition, yet often brings rewards beyond imagination. It is about the quiet acts of compassion that people extend even when they themselves are burdened, and the unexpected ways in which life sometimes answers back. To understand this theme fully, one must begin by looking at the context of those who live lives filled with hardship and yet continue to give. Imagine a poor waitress, someone working in a small cafe with cracked tiles on the floor and the smell of coffee lingering in the air, her apron stained from long hours. Her world is one of constant survival, not comfort. She serves impatient customers, cleans tables, balances trays heavy with plates, and at the end of a 14-hour shift, she receives tips that are barely enough to buy groceries. Her home is not grand, perhaps a small rented room where the walls are thin and the sound of neighbors arguing leaks through. She may also carry responsibilities beyond herself, an ill parent, a younger sibling in need of school fees, or even her own debt that keeps growing. In such circumstances, many people would guard every penny, every slice of bread, with tight fists, because poverty makes one acutely aware of scarcity. Yet, within her is a heart that cannot ignore suffering. Every day as she leaves work, she notices a crippled beggar at the corner of the street, sitting on a cold pavement with a battered tin cup by his side. His clothes are ragged, his shoes mismatched, and his face weathered with lines not only of age but of hardship. He watches people pass by. Some glance at him with pity but continue walking, some avoid his gaze altogether as if looking at him might remind them of their own fragility. A few toss a coin, not out of generosity but out of a desire to quiet their conscience. Yet, it is the waitress who, instead of merely offering a coin, brings him food. Sometimes it is half her own dinner packed from the cafe, sometimes it is bread she bought from a nearby bakery, other times it is just tea in a paper cup. This act may seem small, almost insignificant in the eyes of the world. But for the beggar, it is the difference between going to sleep with gnawing hunger and going to sleep with warmth in his belly. For the waitress, it is not about charity in the grand sense of the word, but about human connection. She sees him not as a nuisance or an invisible figure on the street but as someone deserving of dignity. Her kindness is not performative, it is not posted on social media, it is not done for applause or recognition. It is pure, uncalculated, and stems from the simple belief that everyone deserves care. The hidden fortune in this theme begins with the beggar himself. He appears broken and destitute, his outward image convincing everyone that he is a man who has lost everything. Yet, behind this disguise is a truth no one suspects. He is a billionaire, or at least a man of enormous wealth, who has chosen to live among the forgotten. Perhaps he is testing humanity, trying to see whether kindness still exists in a world obsessed with materialism. Or perhaps he grew weary of false friendships and the kind of love that money buys, and so he decided to strip away his wealth and live among those who have nothing, to discover whether someone would still look at him with compassion. The beauty of this theme lies in the contrast. On one side is the waitress, poor, struggling, yet endlessly giving. On the other side is the beggar, seemingly destitute but secretly rich beyond imagination. Outward appearances mislead, and it is only through the invisible quality of kindness that the truth is revealed. The waitress's small acts of generosity, repeated day after day without expectation of reward, eventually unlock a hidden fortune she could never have dreamed of. The fortune is not merely monetary, though that becomes part of the story, but also the fortune of being seen, valued, and loved for who she is, not for what she possesses. This theme carries deep resonance because it reflects a moral paradox. Society often teaches that giving is easier for those who have much. Yet, stories and real-life accounts consistently show that those who have little are often the most generous. A billionaire might donate to charity with a press release attached, but a poor waitress sharing her food with a stranger demonstrates a purity of intent that cannot be bought. Her kindness is not diluted by motives, it is not about reputation, tax deductions, or building influence. It is simply about easing another's suffering. The irony is that while she gives from scarcity, the beggar hides his abundance, and it is her goodness that bridges the gap between them. The hidden fortune also has a metaphorical layer. It is not only about the billionaire's concealed wealth but about the richness of human spirit that is often invisible. When the beggar reveals himself to be wealthy, it is a dramatic unveiling of the truth. Yet, one could argue that the waitress had already uncovered the greater hidden fortune long before, the fortune of compassion, resilience, and humanity. Her life, Though poor in material terms, was rich in ways that money could not measure. Her generosity gave meaning to her existence, even before the billionaire offered her any reward. Expanding on this theme, one can imagine how society as a whole often misjudges value based on appearances. The beggar, dismissed by most, is seen as worthless, while in reality, he possesses riches beyond comprehension. The waitress, overlooked by society as just another worker at a cafe, turns out to be the one with the truest wealth of heart. These reversals force us to confront our own assumptions about worth. The theme suggests that wealth is not always what it seems, and kindness is the currency that endures beyond gold or paper. On a psychological level, the theme explores what drives a person to give despite lacking abundance. It could be that suffering creates empathy. The waitress knows hunger, and because she knows it, she cannot bear to let another suffer from it. It could also be a reflection of hope. By giving, she affirms her belief that life can be kinder, that even small gestures matter. On the beggar's side, his decision to disguise himself as poor is a test not only for others but also for himself. Perhaps he has grown alienated from genuine human interaction because everyone around him treats him as a source of wealth rather than a person. By stripping away his riches, he can finally discover if kindness still exists independent of money. The tension in this theme comes from the fact that the waitress never knows who she is feeding. If she knew from the start that he was a billionaire, her actions might have been influenced by that knowledge. She might have been motivated by hope of reward, or at least by curiosity. But the purity of her actions lies in ignorance. She helps because it is right, not because she expects anything in return. And this is what makes the eventual revelation so powerful. When the beggar finally discloses his true identity, it is not just a surprise, but a validation that kindness has power beyond imagination. The theme also raises questions about the nature of fortune. Is fortune measured in money, or is it measured in love and compassion? In the beginning, the waitress appears to have no fortune at all. She is poor, struggling, burdened. Yet, by the end, it becomes clear that she always had the most important kind of fortune, one that no amount of wealth can replicate. Her hidden wealth was her capacity for kindness, and that is what ultimately attracts the material fortune hidden within the beggar. Thus, kindness and hidden fortune are two sides of the same coin, intertwined in a way that elevates both giver and receiver. By focusing on this theme, one sees the story not only as a narrative of reward but also as a parable about life's deeper truths. It is a reminder that kindness is never wasted, even when it seems unnoticed. It suggests that behind every facade of poverty or wealth lies a hidden story, and the true measure of a person is not in what they own, but in how they treat others when nothing can be gained. The twist of gratitude and reward is one of the most compelling elements in storytelling because it plays on the human longing for justice, recognition, and the idea that good deeds are never wasted. It is a theme that has existed across fables, folklore, and modern narratives, taking many different forms but always revolving around the same principle. An individual performs an act of kindness, often without expectation of return, and later discovers that their action brings about an unexpected and life-changing reward. What makes this twist powerful is not only the surprise but also the moral lesson embedded in it, showing that life, fate, or sometimes the recipient of kindness themselves, eventually returns goodness in kind. When considering the story of the poor waitress and the crippled beggar, this twist becomes the central hinge on which the entire narrative rests. For weeks or months, the waitress gives what she can to the beggar outside the cafe. Her kindness is consistent, not occasional or performative. She does not give him food once and forget about him. She makes him a part of her daily life, sharing from her own limited resources even though she is herself burdened by poverty. There is no transaction in her mind. She never considers that he could one day return the favor. If she thought he was secretly rich, she might act differently, but her kindness is rooted in the belief that he is just another unfortunate man who has nothing. Her actions are pure, springing from empathy rather than calculation. The beggar, on the other hand, is not what he seems. He plays the role of someone desperate and overlooked, but beneath the disguise lies a hidden truth. He has wealth, power, and influence, but he conceals it deliberately. Perhaps he is testing those around him, searching for someone who sees past appearances. Perhaps he is weary of shallow relationships where people fawn over him only for what he can give them. Whatever his reasons, he watches the world through the eyes of the destitute, seeing how others treat him when they think he is worthless. Most walk by without a second glance, but the waitress, struggling herself, continues to care. That is where the twist of gratitude builds its foundation. The moment of revelation is what transforms this story into more than a tale of simple charity. One day, after receiving food and compassion countless times, the beggar chooses to reveal his true self. Instead of being merely a crippled man in rags, he tells her that he is a billionaire. This disclosure shocks the waitress, because it upends everything she believed about him. Her entire relationship with him had been built on the assumption that he was destitute, yet now she discovers that she was feeding someone who could afford not only his own meals but hers as well. The twist has both a personal and symbolic meaning. Personally, it reveals to the waitress that her kindness had not been ignored, that every small act she gave from her heart had been witnessed and cherished by someone who could change her life. Symbolically, it demonstrates the hidden justice of the universe. Kindness has a way of returning, often in ways we least expect. What makes this twist so resonant is the contrast between expectation and outcome. The waitress never expects anything from the beggar. In fact, she might even feel embarrassed or self-conscious if someone pointed out how much she sacrifices for him, because she doesn't do it for recognition. Yet her unselfishness is precisely what earns her the greatest recognition of all. The beggar's gratitude is not expressed in words alone. He does not simply say thank you and walk away. He chooses to reward her in a way that transforms her circumstances, lifting her from poverty, paying off her debts, caring for her mother, or even providing opportunities she never thought possible. This material reward is dramatic because it changes her life, but even beyond money, the emotional reward is profound. She is seen, valued, and acknowledged for her goodness. The twist also highlights the difference between false kindness and true kindness. Many people in the world are kind when there is something to gain. They may give to the wealthy in hopes of favors, or donate to causes for public praise, or offer help when it can boost their social image. But when faced with someone who appears to have nothing to offer, many turn away. The waitress proves herself to be different. She does not give for gain, she gives because it is right. That is why the twist of gratitude and reward is so powerful. It validates true kindness over performative generosity. This kind of twist also touches on universal desires. Humans long to believe that the world has some form of justice, that good actions are rewarded and bad ones punished. In reality, life does not always work this way, and many good people suffer without recognition. But in storytelling, the twist of gratitude and reward fulfills this longing, offering a vision of a world where goodness does matter and where it eventually comes back to the giver in abundance. It becomes both inspiring and instructive, showing audiences that kindness has unseen power even when it seems to go unnoticed. In the case of the beggar and the waitress, the gratitude expressed is not casual but transformative. It is gratitude that recognizes the depth of her sacrifice and rewards her accordingly. This can be interpreted as a metaphor for how life itself often works. Many times, acts of kindness sow seeds that may not sprout immediately but eventually bloom in unexpected ways. A person who shows compassion without expectation may find that years later, the universe or someone they helped repays them in ways they never imagined. The beggar's revelation is the narrative device that condenses this truth into a single powerful moment. There is also an emotional dimension to this twist. Imagine the feelings of the waitress when she learns the truth. Shock, disbelief, perhaps even a sense of confusion at first. Then, as the reality sinks in, tears of relief and joy. For someone who has lived under the weight of poverty, the knowledge that all her struggles are seen and acknowledged would feel like a miracle. For the beggar, revealing his true identity is not just about rewarding her but about healing his own faith in humanity. By experiencing her kindness, he rediscovers that genuine goodness exists even in a world full of self-interest. His gratitude is as much emotional as it is material. He is grateful not only for the food but for the hope she has given him that wealth has not corrupted every human heart. The twist of gratitude and reward also carries symbolic weight in the contrast between invisibility and recognition. The waitress, though kind, is largely invisible to the world. She is just a poor worker in a cafe, unnoticed by most, her struggles unknown. The beggar, disguised, is invisible too, dismissed by passers-by as worthless. Yet when the twist occurs, both emerge into the light. She is recognized for her heart, and he reveals his hidden wealth. Both shed their invisibility, and together their lives intersect in a way that changes them permanently. This theme resonates deeply because it challenges how we view relationships between giver and receiver. Often, society assumes that the rich give and the poor receive. Yet here, the roles are reversed. The poor waitress gives, and the billionaire disguised as a beggar receives. When the reward comes, it is not charity from the rich to the poor, but gratitude from the wealthy to the truly generous. This reversal of roles emphasizes that kindness does not depend on wealth, it depends on character. Another dimension of this twist is its moral teaching. It suggests that one should always act with compassion because one never knows who is watching or what lies beneath appearances. The beggar could have been anyone, and the waitress could not have known. By choosing kindness regardless, she positioned herself to receive a reward far beyond her imagination. It is a reminder that no act of kindness is too small, and no person too unworthy of compassion. The hidden truth of the beggar's wealth makes the lesson all the more striking. When expanded to a larger context, this twist reflects a philosophy of life. Gratitude, when genuine, seeks to repay kindness not out of obligation but out of recognition. Reward, when justly given, amplifies goodness and restores balance. Together, they create a cycle where kindness inspires gratitude, gratitude inspires reward, and reward inspires more kindness. This cycle can be seen as the moral heartbeat of the story. It offers a hopeful vision where goodness is not wasted but multiplies, returning to the giver in ways both tangible and intangible.